Before we start, let me tell you that this was not the video I had planned for Dragon Ball Z Kakarot's first DLC. All the eyes seem to be a DLC covering the Battle of Gods arc from Dragon Ball Z. As for now, I'm telling you this is something completely different. Welcome to the review of Dragon Ball Z Kakarot's first DLC. Can't imagine how complicated it was to make that intro with so little material that I was able to get from this DLC. Guys, remember to blow up the like button, and that way I will continue to bring you much more content related to the game sagas that we continue to analyze on this channel. Can we get 100 likes on this video? I know I can count on you. Let's get started. As I said, this wasn't what I was expecting. Many of you might be thinking like, oh, we all know this DLC wasn't the Battle of Gods story, but keep in mind that I've always tried not to spoil and stay as far away from any explicit content as possible that could affect my perspective of games when I try them for the first time. So forgive me if this caught me off guard. Anyway, once we start this first extra chapter, things start to sound a little convenient. First, it turns out that they changed the entire original script, making the way Goku and Vegeta meet the God of Destruction Bills not with an unexpected visit to King Kai's planet, not with the remembered Vegeta scene. It's simply because Whis teleported them both to Bill's planet because the God of Destruction was bored and wanted to fight opponents who were worth it. Goku and Vegeta were the greatest energy sources in Universe 7, so he took them. That's it. That's the reason the story starts. It's the laziest starting point I've seen in a long time, and I've seen a lot of it in these past 2 years. Making this excuse to start with the action related to the content of Dragon Ball Super as soon as possible is because this DLC came out in April 2020. There's a quite short margin in which a much more interesting product could have been made. Time is indispensable, but for these people, time is money. So when you sit them all down and tell them, we have the possibility of making a DLC for the game that we released a couple of months ago, they think first about what can be sell the most to the fandom. In the case of Dragon Ball, the transformations. There's something inside every new Dragon Ball game that makes us want to see all the possible characters, but in that same perspective, it's not the same to see how to play with Super Broly in Dragon Ball FighterZ than how it would be in the Budokai Tenkaichi 4 mod, for example. That's why the DLC in Dragon Ball games are so viable. However, here the bar was a bit short, and by presenting only 4 new characters, 2 of which are not even playable and the other 2 are transformations, it's still the same character. Here, the marketing got to their heads, and instead of making additional content for a game that I personally liked a lot that offers some unique mechanics, more characters to explore, even skins for existing characters, they ended up releasing a rushed extra chapter that barely has any memorable moments. I do like how at least the game interprets this section as a training to improve the skills of Goku and Vegeta. We will be spending a lot of time with Whis and training with him. This means that we will have a series of fights with him in different levels of difficulty, and each one will have conditions and challenges, like win in less than a minute, hit 3 super attacks, or break the rival's guard, that kind of things. Although they make an effort to make the experience more challenging, once a certain level is reached, the game is very easy, even without using healing items, and the missions are a piece of cake. These kind of things are what make me reaffirm what I thought at the beginning. This game is incredibly detailed, and much of the joy of the experience is guided by pure nostalgia. Only here, nostalgia would not be a factor to take into account. Apart from Whis' mission, they allow us to have a default training area, those where we use the medals and Z-orbs to train and unlock new skills, so more training in case it was needed. Both Whis and Bills also have soul emblems, so we can also add them to our collection and arrange them in the best way on the community walls to give us a little extra plus, even though we know it's not necessary. I highlight this because the difficulty is very comfortable. In its most complicated levels, the game tries to make us do much less damage to the rival, but it still acts in a predictable way, so it's not that they are harder to beat, it's just that they take longer longer to die. Is this a problem that could be corrected? Yes. Will they do it? No. It's too late to configure the difficulty scheme from the routes. Besides, it's not as if they urged them to do it. They still make content and players still buy it. If you're tired of games being too expensive, at Instant Gaming you can buy all the games you want at an incredible price. You even have the option to get pre-orders and gift cards with a big discount. I've been using it for several years now, and here are my latest purchases to show you guys that it's completely legit. Cheap, fast and safe. You can check it out in the link I leave you in the description down below. That would be a huge support for the channel. Let's get back to the video. This is a very compressed DLC. It's that simple. When you complete most of the training sections with Whis, it rewards you with different transformations, which you already possess if you have already passed the original story. Each new level Whis gives you the Kaioken, the Super Saiyan 2, and in all of them the same dialogue. Goku saying that he already knew how to transform, and Whis saying, "Oh, really? Well, I'll give you this," and it gives us sacred water. It's always the same. What's the point of this beyond being repetitive? I'm still wondering at this point. Despite that, this DLC has some memorable moments. Almost none, but it has them. For example, the cinematic finishes that the game triggers at the moment we hypothetically beat Bills in the Super Saiyan God fight. It's like that little last effort that those in charge said, okay, we should put at least something visually interesting in all of this, right? And well, the deployment shown by CyberConnect, even though brief, was very well received by me. Although, if you ask me, I would not buy this little extra chapter for pleasure. If I wanted to see this cinematic, I would only search it on YouTube and that's it. Otherwise, mechanically speaking, the game does not show much progress. Once we finish the main fight with Bills, they give us the Super Saiyan God transformation and the ability to learn the God level Kamehameha. The gameplay changes of this transformation is basically the variant when entering Awakening mode that provides a new moveset to the character in that time span. And I'm not going to lie, it's interesting to see this transformation of Dragon Ball in this game that was thought in very detail to tell the story of Z. On the same hand, Vegeta has the same training mission scheme, it's only a change of character. The difference here is that in the final fight with Bills, we are offered to use the Super Saiyan God version of Vegeta, with his unique moveset also, but only in his awakening clearly. We have a finishing scene also especially polished, but it's hard not to think that both were choreographed in the same way but with each one's own techniques. But we return to the problem of the notable laziness that those who were in charge of making this DLC had. When Vegeta reaches the God phase, he does it in the same way that Goku did, which is logical. 5 pure-hearted Saiyans were needed to do it, but everything is repeated once more, even though they are exactly the same dialogues. It was fun to beat Whis transformation fights one after the other until we get the Super Saiyan God, but they didn't even make an effort to make it unique for each one of them, and in such a short DLC. Well, at the end, the new ability they give us of Vegeta is the Divine Heatwave, obviously referencing the technique he used against Broly in the movie. To wrap up, this first DLC leaves a lot to be desired, and see that I'm an easily impressible person. Maybe with a little more dedication, less repetitiveness because here they went too far, they would have obtained much more attractive material, but for now, we will see if the next DLCs that we're missing will be up to the level. Don't forget to subscribe and give a like so you don't miss what's next with Dragon Ball Z Kakarot. Guys, thank you very much if you made it this far. That was all for today, and I'll be watching you in the next video. Take care and see ya.